up tonight on CTV News, the inquest into the victims of the quake continues, and we speak to Mayor Bob Parker. Welcome to CTV News, I'm Kenetta Knight. Today the inquest continued to examine the deaths of 5 Christchurch victims who were visually identified after the earthquake. Yesterday, CTV staff members Matty Beaumont, Sean Lucas and Valery Volnov were found to have worked for CTV and had been seen in the building prior to the earthquake at 12:51. Then the men had not used their passport, cell phones or accessed their bank accounts since the earthquake. Fingerprints, DNA testing, dental records and forensic pathology examinations had identified other victims of the quake, but none of these methods had been successful in identifying the 9, and there were no further avenues to identify the remaining people. The deaths investigated today were Jamie Gilbert, Jeff Sanf, Joseph Pahio, Andrew Craig and 15-year-old Jaden Andrews Howland. These 5 victims were identified by family members. Emergency services attended a fatal crash at the intersection of Barrington Street and Lincoln Road at 8 o'clock this morning. The crash involved a heavy truck and trailer colliding with a pedestrian. Barrington Street between Gerald Street North and Lincoln Road was closed to all traffic. There were delays in traffic in the area for the remainder of the day. And an unemployed man did appear in the Christchurch District Court today, charged with 3 counts of aggravated robbery, 1 kidnapping charge and 1 charge of using an air gun. Yesterday, Christchurch Police arrested the man on multiple outstanding warrants following an armed offenders operation. The Armed Offenders Squad executed a search warrant at an address in Barbados Street at 10 yesterday morning. The 34-year-old man was located at the address. Mayor Bob Parker visited CTV offices today and we asked him what the latest is.
Mayor Parker was very happy with the turnout at the Share an Idea Expo that took place at the CBS Arena over the weekend.
Well, the last couple of weeks have been a really busy time for council, I guess, for everybody. One of the really big things for us was last weekend with the Share an Idea Expo. We had 10,000 people, amazing 10,000 people came through the CBS Arena, which is where we'll be holding the telethon this weekend, of course, and gave us their views and their vision for the future of the central part of Christchurch. It was inspiring. We had some great speakers, and it's laid the base work, the groundwork, if you like, for us as a council to start focusing on the plan that we need to produce for our community to really sign off for us before the end of the year so we can get stuck into making this the most beautiful city on earth.
As well as their trip to San Francisco, several groups of councillors plan to travel to Melbourne over the next few weeks to gather ideas for the rebuild of Christchurch.
A group of 5 councillors are travelling to San Francisco at their own expense, although I've arranged airfares for them with Air New Zealand at no cost to the ratepayer. And in another week or so, another group of councillors will be going to Melbourne. And they're looking at town planning, they're looking at cities that have either got a really strong association with high-quality urban design, or in the case of San Francisco, a similarity in that they went through an earthquake, they had a massive rebuild, and, what does it take to do that? What are the pitfalls? What are the things, if they were doing it again, that they would do differently? And what are some of the financial mechanisms that they use to rebuild the fabric of their city? So it's really about inspiration and ideas, and I'm thrilled that they've gone. I'll look forward to them coming back. They've got some big decisions to make.
Coming up after the break, a new place to study for quake-affected pupils. Welcome back. Pupils at quake-affected secondary schools now have a place to study before or after school.
Education Minister Anne Tolley yesterday announced the opening of 6 study centres for pupils at schools that have been temporarily relocated or are sharing their site with another school. The centres provide a supervised place for students to study and are aimed at students at colleges which are co-located with other schools because of earthquake damage. It's thought pupils are losing teaching time through site sharing. The centres will be staffed by registered teachers and provide a supervised area where pupils can do their homework and study. It's hoped the extra assistance will help students overcome any disruptions to their studies caused by the quake, and it will be especially helpful to students studying NCEA. The government will cover the $250,000 bill. The study centres are based in Papanui, New Brighton, Shirley, Linwood, Cashmere and Beckenham.
The number of drownings is up in New Zealand and is at its highest rate in nearly 15 years. Emily Cooper has the story.
Water Safety New Zealand yesterday released figures for the first 4 months of 2011, which show a rise in drowning numbers compared with other years. The 57 drowning deaths in New Zealand from January through to April represent the worst start to a year since 1997. It's also high above the recent average. There has been a total of 12 drowning deaths recorded for the month of April. Major contributors towards the recreational activity toll have been swimming, diving and snorkelling, and boating. School swimming coordinator at Wharanui Pool, Jan Hance, says New Zealand has such a high statistic because children need to be taught to be stronger swimmers from an early age.
They need to keep up the momentum of lessons for those that come. The parents need to understand that it's an ongoing journey and it doesn't just stop at age 10, say when they can swim 50 metres.
And she believes many people are ignoring safety concerns.
I think so, yes. I think from my own experience of what I see here, a lot of parents think that their children are a lot better at swimming than they actually are. They can swim from end to end of the pool, but in an emergency situation where panic has set in, they just don't have the skills. They need to be able to swim 200 metres confidently without stopping.
She believes water is a huge part of New Zealand life and therefore there should be more focus on teaching children to be stronger swimmers.
Well, because we're surrounded by coastline, obviously, swimming and being around the water is just part of our life. Children could join groups such as Surf Life Saving. They have wonderful training there. They gain confidence around the water. They could water polo, mini polo. We run mini polo sessions here every Sunday. Children as young as 5 are learning basic skills such as treading water, and it all adds up to being confident and being able to survive.
Yesterday we spoke to newly announced Chief Executive of the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority, Roger Sutton, and coming up after the break, Pete Smith hits the streets to ask people how they feel about the announcement. Welcome back. Pete Smith took to the streets today to ask people their opinion on the newly appointed Chief Executive of CERA, Roger Sutton.
A series of questions for Street Talk today. First one is Roger Sutton's been appointed the CEO of CERA. Very impressive with Orion. What do Cantabrians think of his appointment? Next thing, what do they miss most? And what would they really like done first? So they're big questions. Let's find out what the people of Canterbury think here at Fiddleton Mall.
My first impressions are that he's a very able and intelligent individual, and quite impressed with his initiative when he put the overhead line in to help east of Christchurch.
The nice thing about that was he didn't worry about consent, he just did it.
That's right.
Is that the attitude you want to see him bring in?
I think we need that here now,
yeah.
Yes.
What's the one building you're really missing or going to miss?
It's a very difficult question. I think I miss them all.
Do you?
I think that the town hall and the conference centre probably, and the cathedral.
What have you thought of Roger Sutton so far?
I thought he's excellent.
What did you like about him?
I don't know, just his mannerism. And
he's straight to the point.
He communicates with you?
Yes, very well.
Okay. Huge job for a man though, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, but he's got it in him that he can do it.
You reckon he will?
Yes.
Okay. What's the first job you'd like to see him tackle? What's sort of bugging you at the moment?
Oh, nothing.
Get going with and tidying up the town.
Yeah, good call, but it's a big job, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's too many sometimes got their finger in the pie.
Too much red tape?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Now, what's the one building you're really going to miss?
Now, Brownlee said a long time ago to get rid of the old, rubbish. If they'd listened to him and done it, they would have been a bit further ahead.
You had an opinion. What's the building you're going to miss?
Where?
Just around Canterbury.
As long as Ballantyne's comes back, that's the main time.
Everybody says Ballantyne's.
Have you been down to Ballantyne's Timaru yet for a fix?
No, I haven't.
That's a lot of them going down there to just have a bit of Ballantyne's.
No.
Yeah. So you'd like to see the city up and running, though, as quick as possible.
Definitely.
You think you'll see the new city?
I don't know.
Probably we'll be pushing up daisies.
No, I don't think in our time it won't be built.
But it's exciting what they could do, isn't it?
It is, very much.
You like a bit more green? Bit of grass around and trees.
Yes, that would be nice.
Yeah. But so long as you get the bellies. That's all that matters.
As long as they don't do it away with the trams and a few things like that.
You don't want to get rid of them? No.
Because you can get on a tram and get off at different spots.
And it's a bit of a feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got to be a bit different, don't we?
And to entice visitors.
I don't know. I've just read what I read in the paper. I think he sounds pretty good.
You saw him in action with Orion, of course.
Yes.
Seemed to be a mover, didn't he?
Yeah, he does. He looks as though he's got things under control, well, as far as Orion anyway, and I think, it could be good.
From your point of view, what would be one thing you'd really like him to tackle pretty early?
Well, the biggest problem that hasn't really been discussed in the last week, in my view, is what's going to happen to the suburbs of Bexley, Avondale, Dallington, all through there, because that has a very big impact on the whole reconstruction of the city.
So what do you think's holding that up, though?
Well, it's the geotechs that we're waiting. I believe the report is due to go to Mr. Brownlee at the beginning of June.
Right, and that's the state of the land, is it?
Yeah, that's the state, whether it's going to be possible to rebuild those houses, because it's going to cause a lot of public anguish.
And disruption, isn't it?
It is,
yeah.
But, you can't expect people to turn around and continue to live where they won't get insurance.
Quite right.
And they're going to not want to move, and they're going to basically be forced to move.
What's the one building you're going to miss as a more senior Cantab?
Well, I'd have to say the cathedral, because that is the centre of Christchurch.
Yeah. Would you rebuild a tower for the cathedral?
Yes, but I don't know that it needs to be in maybe the same building materials that's been used.
Yes.
I think we could do a very good job with sort of lightweight aluminiums or something like that. Hey, I'm not a builder, I don't know too much about that sort of thing.
On the other side of the ledger, though, it could be hellishly exciting what comes out of this, couldn't it?
Oh, heavens, yes. What a wonderful opportunity to build a 21st century city. And look, the glass has got to be half full.
I bet you're a bit like me. I wish I was 20 years younger and we could see it all.
That's right. I'd love to be part of it, but it needs younger brains.
Yeah, I think you're right, but so long as they've got the vision.
Yeah, that's right. We don't want to... We've really got to think outside the square on this one.
Literally?
Yes. Literally.
I think he's an all-round good guy. He's seen him biking to work. I think he's going to do the city well.
Pretty positive man?
Yeah, I think so.
What's the one thing you'd like him to do? What do you need done for yourself to make life a bit better?
I don't need it, but, if they did the club scene again, that'd be pretty good.
So you're missing the activity from that point of view?
Definitely. I think there's nothing that the young people can go to these days,
He's impressed me with his work with the power company, getting the stuff back switched on.
You think he's a doer?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. What would you like him to do first then? What would you like to see happen?
I'd like to see the city getting rebuilt and in a new way, in a fresh way.
How?
Well, I don't know.
Well, what do you like?
I like the art centre. I like modern buildings. I don't think
that's the art gallery, you say?
The art gallery,
yeah.
I don't think we need to hang on to an Anglican past, and I think we should move forward and put a New Zealand stamp on it.
That's a true Scot saying that you don't hang on to an Anglican past.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What's the building you're going to miss the most, though?
I don't know. Probably Dux Deluxe.
And now we take a look at earthquake-damaged Elmwood Bowling Club.
I've got a young cameraman today called Matt, and I'm going to take him on one of life's experiences. Don't think he's ever been to a bowling club in his life, but he's going to come down to Elmwood, which is my bowling club. We're going to just look at devastation and just how powerful the earthquake was and how it's affected 21 out of 37 bowling clubs around the country. So, Matt, this will be an eye-opener for you, man. You'll have no idea. Let's start first with the good news. As you can see, Matt, the bowling green doesn't look too bad, does it? It's in pretty good nick. What has happened, though, of course, it's slumped at one end. But that's repairable, and it's not really a major. So very lucky here with the number 2 green. Totally different story as we look over here, Matt. This is where the real damage has occurred. Snapped at the base is the high block fence. And if you follow that down, Matt, you'll see a lean like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So, Matt, as you can see, that's the fence that goes down Heaton Street, and that's not in great shape either. Well, Matt, you've really enjoyed your tour of the good news. Now come to the bad news. This is the number 1 green, and can you believe that Mother Nature can cause just so much mayhem in about 15 seconds? These sorts of scenes are facing 21 out of 37 bowling clubs around Canterbury. It's a massive task. I don't know whether or not they'll all be repaired, but this is just typical of what's happening to sports grounds around Canterbury. Life experience for you, Matt. First time at a bowling green.
The Student Army played an important role in the clean-up of Canterbury after the earthquake, as seen on CTV's City Life.
It was fantastic really to sort of, I guess, be able to do something right from the start when working with Sam and his team. I guess someone asked us, well, what's the worst job that you've had so far? And when I sort of stopped and thought about it, I thought, well, the worst job we've had so far is definitely not being able to help. And so the aim of it there was just to give people, not just students, because there was a wide range of people throughout the community who were involved, just giving them that opportunity to get involved and try and do something themselves to help out. And I think even though there were sort of 2 ways we helped, in the sense of clearing things up and clearing the silt and helping people in that way, but also giving people the opportunity to get out there and feel like they were contributing and really contribute also made a big difference to a lot of people in that sense as well.
So why did the UCSA get involved in the first place?
Well, obviously the Volunteer Army dates back to the September earthquake, and after that quake, which I was involved as a volunteer, and I knew Sam previously. We actually went to primary school together.
Oh, did you?
But after that, we sort of realised, and I got voted in as president shortly after, sort of realised how cool it was to see that engagement of young people and all the students getting involved and helping each other out, and you could see the benefits both to the community and to the students as well. And so at that stage, sort of sat down and worked out with Sam a way that we could keep that going, and we actually had planned for the Thursday of the week the February earthquake struck a beach clean-up, and that was sort of going to be the way the Volunteer Army would be moving, is cleaning up and helping people out in that sense. But as it was, because we had all the infrastructure and all the back-end organisational stuff set up, when the 22nd rolled round, we actually managed to jump into action the next day pretty much, because we had it all sitting there. So we had planned to keep it going, but it wasn't because we thought there was going to be another earthquake, but just because we wanted to keep that momentum. But it was just, I guess it was a benefit of being organised, the fact that we could spring into action so quickly.
And Labour MP Ruth Dyson discusses issues for Cantabrians, including housing and other additional costs.
Housing New Zealand gave their tenants 3 weeks without having to pay rent, and for a lot of people that really meant that they were able to keep going. There have been a lot of additional costs for people. They've had to buy bottled water for a lot of the time. A lot of people had to go to the dairy because there were no supermarkets in the area, and when there were no buses running and they had no transport of their own, the dairy was really the only place. Those prices are more expensive. And even now they have to travel a long distance for supermarkets. We don't have supermarkets in our area where they used to be. So there have been those additional costs. What I said to the City Council is, could they please think about the same sort of arrangement for the City Council tenants? And instead, last week the City Council said they're increasing City Council tenants' rents. A lot of people are very upset by that. They've had no water, power, sewage, additional transport costs and food costs, basic things they can't get around, and now they've had a rent rise as well. I personally don't think that's fair.
Do you know when that starts?
No, I don't actually, but it'll be in the next rent increase, which perhaps will be at the beginning of the year.
Okay. So what are you going to do about that?
Well, we can go back to the City Council and ask them to reconsider, but they've already had their formal meeting and signed off the decision. I didn't get a reply to the letter I wrote about asking for just a brief rent freeze, 2 or 3 weeks, just to give people that extra money that they could keep and make up for the additional costs they've had. So I hope the City Council does reconsider. It's, of course, lost income for the city at a time when we need to keep our income pretty strong. But for the most vulnerable in our society, people who are in those rental accommodation, I think we could do better, frankly.
Here's Sasha now with the weather.
Good evening everyone. We saw a strong westerly airflow over the South Island today, bringing in a cold front this evening with gusty cold southwesterlies. Highs reached between 14 and 16 for most places, and it certainly was nice to see some sunshine this morning. A mostly fine day ahead for Kaikoura, with any early cloud or showers clearing and sunny periods increasing during the morning. A little on the cool side with that high of 10 degrees. Down to 0 overnight tonight, then it's a fine and sunny day for Hinma. Blusty southwesterly winds keep temperatures down though, 8 degrees is your high. Mostly fine in North Canterbury with sunny periods and some cloud. Cold though with breezy southwesterlies. Note that overnight low just above freezing at 1 degree. Christchurch fine but cold for your Wednesday with some cloud and maybe the odd shower at first, but becoming sunny later in the day. Wrap up warm with that high reaching just 9 degrees. Cold gusty southwesterlies ease slowly during the day with sunny periods increasing later on for Ashburton. 3 degrees overnight tonight, then a high of 9 tomorrow. Cold tonight in Timaru, down to 3 degrees. Then it's a mostly fine day with cold blustery southwesterlies easing and cloud and showers clearing. 10 degrees is your high. Looking to other areas, cold overnight tonight, then a cloudy morning reveals a sunny afternoon for Colverdon, Darfield, Methven and Akaroa. That cloud remains for the afternoon in Arthurs Pass and Greymouth. Looking ahead now, there's good weather on the way. Those gusty cool southwesterlies decrease further on Thursday, and it's a mostly fine and sunny day. Mostly fine and sunny from Friday, stretching into the weekend. Thanks everyone, see you tomorrow.
That's CTV News, I'm Kenita Knight.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.